Imagine losing the ability to trust your own thoughts, not because of an injury, not because of a diagnosis, simply because you have been alone for too long. Most people fear physical pain, but psychologists have observed that prolonged isolation inflicts a toll that is far more devastating. Over time, the absence of human contact shifts neural activity, moving away from the regions that govern logic and toward those that process fear. Reality begins to slip. So, what actually happens inside the mind of a human being when they are completely cut off from the outside world? First, we must separate healthy solitude from forced isolation. Choosing a quiet weekend without messages or meetings is restorative. It clears the mind and fosters creativity. But that is a choice. Isolation is a condition imposed on us, and our brains were not built for social darkness. For millions of years, human survival was tied to group cooperation. Our minds evolved expecting a constant stream of shared experiences and emotional feedback. When that stream is cut off, the brain does not simply rest, it begins frantically searching for input. When it finds nothing in the outside world, it starts manufacturing its own. Normally, a threat causes a brief stress spike that returns to baseline. But in isolation, the threat never feels over, flooding the brain with cortisol. Under this pressure, we lose our reality check. Without others to calibrate normalcy, the mind's internal signal completely destabilizes. The mind is suddenly left completely alone with its own uncorrected observations. Initially, the silence may feel peaceful, but eventually those thoughts begin to echo. Without a conversation to interrupt them, minor anxieties rapidly amplify into overwhelming obsessions. Past mistakes play on an endless loop. Future fears distort into massive, unmanageable threats. Without external social inputs to act as an anchor, the mind becomes an echo chamber. A person's own internal monologue becomes their primary source of conflict. This cycle of overthinking often results in severe depression or sudden, unprovoked panic attacks. When sensory deprivation becomes absolute, the brain begins to hallucinate. It creates voices and visions to fill the void, an emergency response from a mind starved of stimulation. Prolonged isolation makes the brain's emotional centers hypersensitive, flaring brightly to trigger intense fear. Simultaneously, regions responsible for reasoning and self-control drop in efficiency. The emotional network essentially overrides the logical one, destroying rational control over impulses. This manifests as deep suspicion of others and severe emotional instability. The deterioration extends to the body. Time perception is usually the first anchor to snap. Without daily interactions to mark the passage of hours, days, and weeks blend together, sleep patterns fracture, heart rates fluctuate, hypersensitivity to sounds and lights develops, digestion slows, leading to weight loss. The brain's attempt to adapt to a solitary environment ends up compromising its own biological functions. It sacrifices its logical and physical stability in a desperate attempt to survive the silence. There are defenses against this decline. Rigid routines like structure exercise and daily reading provide the brain with the framework it craves. Engaging in creative work or learning a new skill acts as a purposeful anchor. These habits slow the rate of psychological damage, though they cannot replace the biological necessity of human contact. We see the most extreme application of these findings in solitary confinement. This blueprint shows a cell designed for total structural separation. In these environments, people spend nearly 24 hours a day alone, sometimes for decades. Long after their release, many struggle with lasting psychological wounds. They find it difficult to trust anyone, and the presence of others in ordinary social settings often triggers intense, paralyzing anxiety. These neurological shifts do not simply vanish once the door is unlocked. Physical freedom is not a cure for a rewired mind. While most of us will never experience a prison cell, we are increasingly living through a diluted version of this same science. We work from home in digital silos, live alone, and often replace real-world interaction with the passive observation of screens. Modern loneliness is rarely as dramatic as sensory deprivation. Instead, it is a cumulative erosion. It is the result of single missed conversations and canceled plans that span months or years. Even in this low-grade form, chronic isolation still impacts our emotional resilience. Without the reality check provided by a social circle, our motivation wanes and our anxieties grow more persistent. Solitude remains a gift, but it becomes a danger when connection disappears and our daily purpose fades. Our biology is clear. The human brain was not built to function in a vacuum. It was built to navigate the world through the eyes of others. If someone comes to mind while you're watching this, reach out. Send a message or make a call. These moments of connection are the biological anchors that protect our mental well-being. For more insights into the science of the human mind and behavior, subscribe to Brain Library. We explore a new topic every week. Our greatest strength has never been surviving in silence. Our biology demands that we grow together. Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep growing.